is truly astonishing to see the increasing number of women today who are producing and marketing lascivious content featuring themselves. Many of these women just a decade ago would never have even entertained the thought of selling such content, let alone pursuing a career as an e-thought. Most would have been mortified. So, to put it simply, the following scenario has played out countless times over the past few years. A regular girl gains fame for doing some kind of dance on TikTok, and as the year unfolds, she gradually takes a more risque persona, and by the end of the year, she's got herself an OnlyFans account. What I myself find truly baffling is that this phenomenon hasn't even been studied yet, considering how prevalent it is and the impact it's having on society. Moreover, how the mainstream media has become one of the largest voices championing it. And the 800-pound gorilla has now entered the fray with Google's new video AI tech announced in May of this year, as it's put OnlyFans and its legion of female creators on notice that their careers as e-thoughts could be in serious trouble. And why is this? Well, as AI pumps out endless variations tailored to any preference, 24/7, many simps are already beginning to ask themselves why pay for real content when AI can deliver a flawless alternative. This isn't just a rival, it's a potential tsunami for the entire industry. And while we're going to be talking about the disastrous life choices of e-thoughts and the reckless financial decisions of their simps, why not conversely make good life choices for yourself? And what am I talking about? Coca flavanol. Flavanol. Oh, yeah. To stock up before it's gone. Every girl now has the potential to reach a global audience. If an algorithm decides she should go viral for any reason, she suddenly has millions of eyes on her. And this marks an unprecedented moment in time, one that ordinary women have never encountered throughout all of human history until just the past few years. Suddenly, someone who was a complete unknown now finds herself with a colossal audience. Well, what does she do with that audience? Most will offer that audience something they are willing to pay for, and for most women, the only commodity they possess that others might realistically pay for is their sexuality. Thus, many of these e-girls then move on to post racier and racier content to quench their legions of thirsty simps that are starved for female companionship. But I'll never do photos in my birthday suit, you silly boys. And then when the money starts drying up, so she does then post more lascivious content, but then explains, but of course I'll never do toys. And then it just slides on from there. Younger girls, for their part, browsing TikTok and Instagram, get fed endless videos of these seemingly rich, happy, super cool girls in their early 20s driving sports cars and going on glamorous holidays in places like Dubai. Of course, in the content these women put out on safe-for-work channels like TikTok, they never mention how or why they have so much money, as these influencers never mention, for example, Dubai porta-potty parties that they participate in with wealthy Arabs that use them as a bog to relieve themselves on. And so now, many young girls dream of being Instagram and TikTok e-thoughts, and that they can become gajillionaires by using OnlyFans. While only a tiny few will make those millions, most won't, and will have traded their dignity for something similar in price to that of a cheeseburger, leaving an internet record of their escapades and making them extremely damaged goods when later looking to form a family. Sometimes science fiction misses by a country mile, and sometimes it's so prescient as to be chilling. In that vein, Google has just unleashed this May what looks to be the start of something huge. A new video AI that creates lifelike clips from simple prompts. Type Woman walking along the beach with a pigeon on her shoulder, and whoosh, realistic content, no human needed. This tech is cheap, fast, affordable, and accessible, leveraging massive computing power and advanced algorithms to mimic reality. Creators of any stripe, businesses and everyday users, can then generate tailored content in minutes, no camera or studios needed. But here's the big question. What does this mean for the e-thought simp economy, and specifically platforms like OnlyFans? In 2023, OnlyFans alone handled $6.6 billion in gross payments, with creators pocketing over $5 billion. But Google's new video tech AI could turn this upside down. OnlyFans, obviously, for their part, has been put on notice. Their CEO, Kelly Blair, said in 2024 they won't allow fully AI-generated accounts, but creators can already use AI to enhance their images and videos. And this won't be enough to stop the wave. Many are now saying that this AI content could shake the industry to its core in as little as 5 years. And with women that are flooding the platform now, well, what is the future for these women? These women are banking on a system that could crumble under this new AI's weight. And for these women, it's a risky bet, given the dignity that they are so frivolously frittering away. And what's important to understand on the simp side of the equation is that this AI is endless. It can churn out unlimited variations tailored to any taste, 24/7. So if you're a simp, why pay for a real person's content when AI offers a flawless, on-demand alternative? This isn't just competition, it's a potential earthquake. Human creators face a flood of AI-generated rivals that don't tire, don't charge much, and don't say no. The simp e-thought economy, built on scarcity, supposedly, and personal connections, could see demand shift hard and fast to these new AI solutions. And to go over that just a little more thoroughly, some might suggest that it is the personal interactions between the e-thought and simp that makes the OnlyFans experience what it is today. However, most of the larger accounts are already using AI chatbots to interact with their dribbling fans, and the new generation of AI bots specifically being brought to market are for this express purpose. So why then should a simp not build his own fantasy woman in exactly the way he wants her, in appearance, personality, or whatever? I'm not saying that either side of the e-thought simp equation is good or healthy as an option. I think it's a social catastrophe. But what we're doing here is speculating on the earthquake that AI will have on this economy that many women have tied themselves to, and done so for life, as the internet never forgets. So while OnlyFans banks on connection, personal chats, custom requests, AI is and will mimic this with chatbots and tailored videos, eroding the OnlyFans e-thought edge. It might actually be a good thing too, as the next generation of women might not see selling themselves on the internet as a viable life strategy or as a career. Google's new video gen AI is a beast, realistic, cheap, and relentless, and it could flip this entire e-thought simp economy, hitting OnlyFans and their creators where it hurts: subscriptions, revenue, and relevance. And the e-thought simp to OnlyFans pipeline, it's a mess. And of course, I'm only commenting on it as I think the entire OnlyFans industry is a civilizational disaster. So what do you think? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below to keep the conversation going. Always the reminder to check to see that you are still subscribed. Also remember, you can, unlike simps and e-thoughts of the world, you can make good choices for yourself. Check out Black Forest Supplements and their amazing range of products now with a store-wide 40% off discount going on right now. I've been using their stuff for over a year now, and I can really say I do feel the difference. So that's it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
the narrative of your life. I am warning you. In the next 7 minutes, 7 minutes to change the narrative of your life. I am warning you. In the next 7 minutes, you will receive information that you cannot unsee. It will change how you perceive pain. It will change how you turn pain into courage, and courage into skill. You will not find this in any book. It is the knowledge of the founder of Grimm, who is a master of storytelling. He is an old friend of mine, and we joined forces to build mythologies that strengthen people worldwide. This is the Grimm. Disconnect from the soupy narratives of indulgence, depression, and confusion. The following model will open your eyes because it shows you the essence of storytelling that is also the essence of your past in life. No matter if you look at the story of Moses, Sigurd, or modern narratives like the Matrix, all powerful narratives follow the same path with the same three essential elements. In storytelling, we call them tropes. Number one, every true hero starts with a deep disadvantage, unjust suffering. Number two, every true hero shows boldness, courage. And number three, every true hero develops an above average skill set. Disadvantages, boldness, skill set. These three tropes are interlinked. Look at Sigurd of the Nordic myths, our heritage. Sigurd was born into a cursed bloodline and lost his parents young. Deep, unjust suffering. Boldly, he performed the impossible task of slaying the dragon Fafnir. His skill set, a fine warrior. Look at Moses. Moses was born into slavery and faced death as a baby. His disadvantage was being exiled and uncertain of his purpose. Only he returned to confront the Pharaoh and free his people. His skill set, leadership, faith, and the ability to guide a nation to freedom after 40 years in the desert. Look at Neo. Neo was trapped in slavery, unaware of the Matrix. He was not just unfree, but isolated and aimless in his meaningless living life. Boldly he took the red pill and stepped into the unknown. His skill set, mastery over the Matrix, and the power to free humanity. All great narratives in all cultures share these three tropes: disadvantage, boldness, skill. Look at your own culture mythology. You will find these three tropes. Why? It is the code of a rich, fulfilled life of every human being. It is not just storytelling. It is the essence of everyone's past before they die. Everyone experiences suffering that is not their fault. Disadvantages. The calling of every life is to work with these disadvantages. Instead of giving up, grow courage and boldness. And develop a skill set to fight for what is right. Take a look at your life. What is your disadvantage? What boldness do you show? What is the skill set you are building? One leads to the other. The mythologies of your cultures will inspire you. Learn from them and don't pity your pain, your disadvantages. Your mission starts right there. Your boldness and skills grow directly out of your deepest disadvantages. This is the life of Grimm. We, the founders of Grimm, were sick of all the darkness in the modern world. That's why we came together and formed a ring of capable people who cooperate to bring change to this world. This is the Grimm's inside mission. The ring of Grimm. The outside mission of Grimm is to set everyone free with empowering mythology. This is the Grimm Cinematic Universe. The basis of it is the Grimm series. It is a mythologized story of my life, the life of Andriucha. It is built on the three powerful tropes which transform you. The first book of the Grimm series tells the story of a lost young man who feels his abusive father to go and hurt. This is me, this is Andriucha. But when new friends turn out to be drug smugglers, it leads the hero into the dark gulags from the Soviet Union, where he grows from a boy to a man, forced to building the skill set and boldness of a leader to finally escape the unjust prison. It is a metaphor for all of our lives. Get the Grimm book here. A new era is starting today. Disconnect from all negative narratives in your life. Learn from the positive narratives of your old culture and of Grimm, and forge your own mythology, your own path, with good people on your side. This is Grimm. Honor, come.
I have a question for you, friends. How do you know that that chatbot you are using is actually a chatbot and not just some Indian guy named Marish? As it turns out, an AI startup backed by Microsoft has been revealed to be 700 Indian employees pretend to be chatbots. Why is this such a predictable story? Why is it that you are not surprised that this is the case? Now, I do want to stress, my friends, I hope you aren't saying naughty things to your chatbots, because I know some of you out there, weird stuff you're doing online. But I just want to let you know, it is not a young, beautiful woman. Like, look, let's be real. If you think you're talking to an AI and it's sexting you, you've got issues already. But then it turns out to be some guy in India. I can't imagine what that guy must be thinking, where it's like, you're in India and they're like, look, we have a job for you. You're going to go on this machine. They're going to type to you. You got to type quick and give them quick responses because they think you're a robot. And then, Marish is there and he's like, okay, I will do this. And then someone responds like, hey, chatbot, I want to say naughty things and whatever input. And then this Indian guy's like, yes, having to respond to it. I do think it's funny too, though, as an aside, the inverse is that there are people who go on OnlyFans thinking they're talking to a woman, and they're talking to chatbots. Yep. Check this out from the Latin Times. A once-hyped AI startup backed by Microsoft has filed for bankruptcy after it was revealed that so-called artificial intelligence was actually hundreds of human workers in India. I love it. Pretending to be chatbots. Builder.ai, a London-based company previously valued at $1.5 billion. Can you believe it? Marketed its platform as an AI-powered solution that made building apps as simple as ordering pizza. Its virtual assistant, Natasha, was supposed to generate software using artificial intelligence. In reality, nearly 700 engineers in India were manually coding customer requests behind the scenes. Oh my God. The ruse began to collapse in May when lender Viola Credit seized $37 million in the company's accounts, uncovering that Builder.ai had inflated its 2024 revenue projections by 300%. An audit revealed the company generated just $50 million in revenue, far below the $220 million it claimed to investors. A Wall Street Journal report from 2019 had already questioned Builder.ai's AI claims, and a former executive sued the company that same year for allegedly misleading investors and overstating its technical capabilities. Despite that, the company raised over $445 million from big names, including Microsoft and the Qatar Investment Authority. Builder.ai's collapse has triggered a federal investigation in the U.S., with prosecutors in New York requesting financial documents and customer records. I wonder if I can pull this up. Builder.ai. I bet nothing's there anymore. I bet it just doesn't load. Wait. Holy crap, look at this. Yo, it still exists. Builder.ai We make building an app so easy anyone can do it. Your vision, your software, we just build it. No technology needed. AI means we can build more cost effectively and at speed. Your own dedicated expert is with you at every step. Wow, dude, take a look at this. Fast Company. Voted with, give it 700 Indian guys. Voted one of the top 3 most innovative companies by Fast Company in 2023. I gotta read that. Here's how it works. Chat to our AI Natasha. Get a fixed price and accurate timings. Meet your own dedicated expert. AI assembles your app features like a Lego set. Features are customized by human specialists. Your app is ready. Okay, to be fair, they weren't telling you that they would have a human do the finer touches.
Right.
What did Fast Company say? Here's what is a press release. Build.AI has been named to Fast Company's prestigious annual list of the most innovative companies. Can we pull this up? Come on, Fast Company. What do you got? Where's your list? What number was it? Securing number 3 spot in the artificial intelligence category. Sort by how do I sectors? Is that what we want? I want here we go. Applied AI. What is this? Glean, Anysphere? Okay, not applied AI. That's Blackbird.ai. What's that? Artificial intelligence. There we go. There we go. Number 1 is NVIDIA. 2 is OpenAI. 3 is Google DeepMind. What did they lied about this? What are you talking about? Anthropic? Microsoft? Where are they even claiming this? They said, or is this the wrong year? Did this just link to the wrong? Oh, this linked to 2025. You see, that's where they get you. Let's change it to 3 and see what happens. Nope. So I guess it's not on the website anymore. Okay, fine, fair. But Fast Company, your credibility is shot. Although to be fair, I guess I don't know how they would know they were actually being duped by 700 Indian guys. Sure. Anyway, they say founder Sachin Dev Duggal stepped down earlier this year and was replaced by Manpreet Rathia, who reportedly uncovered the company's internal misrepresentations. The company now owes millions to Amazon and Microsoft in cloud computing costs and has laid off around 1,000 employees. On LinkedIn, the company announced its entry into insolvency proceedings, citing historic challenges and past decisions that strained its finances. Okay, can I just use ChatGPT, use Gemini. Gemini is like, I can pull up Gemini right now. Let me do this. Gemini.google.com. I gotta log into my account here. And what do we got here? Listen to audio, Gemini. Let me pull this in, okay? Here's Gemini, and I'm gonna write this. Code a game where a spaceship fights aliens. Just like that. Vibe coding, they call it. Show thinking. Analyzing. This is really, I like Gemini. This is really fantastic. Why didn't they just have an Indian guy tell Gemini to do it? Just use someone else's AI. Alright, so I'm currently searching for pie game examples to grasp common spaceship alien fighting mechanics, structures, and features, developing the core components, and is it coding? Is this Python? You know, I gotta be honest, it takes a few revisions when you ask it to make games. It says, you'll need to have Pygame installed. I don't want to install whatever that is. Let's stop it. In HTML5. There we go. Code a game where a spaceship fights aliens in HTML5. I don't need to install nothing. Just make it run. Alright? I'm now delving into the established structures of HTML5 space shooter games. My initial efforts involve searching for tutorials and examples. And wow. JavaScript, Canvas, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Here's the code. Will it run the code? So I've actually done this quite a bit. It's pretty cool. Gemini does this, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do. So it's wild that anybody dumps money in this. It's like, with crypto, you could basically just make a claim, just say a thing, and people are like, but it's crypto, so I'll buy it. That's why, like, we've had people come to us talking about crypto companies, and I'm like, doesn't mean anything, it means nothing. I'm not interested. If you come to me and say that, you know, if you're going to talk to me about ERC20 tokens, you're going to talk to me about Ethereum, Bitcoin, Lightning Network, you've got a service or a company, tell me exactly what it's using and how it's using it. But like with AI, You've got the, like with crypto, you've got these AI companies that just say, we're AI powered, and then they can raise $500 million. Sooner or later, the facade crumbles. They say, the fall is seen as one of the biggest failures of the post-ChatGPT AI investment boom and has renewed scrutiny of AI washing, the trend of rebranding manual services as AI to secure funding. Well, to be fair, do we have this? Did it just give me the code? Generate code prompt? Okay, let me see if I can get us to actually run the game. Maybe it's because I'm zoomed in. Let's see. I want to run the game in this segment. Generate code to prototype this with Canvas. Okay, do it. Is that it? The user is asking for an HTML5 game where a spaceship... There we go. Oh, so I was using the wrong prompt. Check this out. So you can see it's actually... It's coding. They call it vibe coding, I guess. That's what they call it. I have no idea what the game will be. I said where a spaceship fights aliens. Spaceship fights aliens HTML5 game. Let's see if we can get this to work. Check it out. Okay. We got all this stuff happening. Aliens, what does it say? Alien spawning and bullet movement, collision detection, bullet alien game state management. I didn't tell it what the game was. I didn't tell it how the points worked or anything like that, so let's just see how this rolls. It's all going in real time. How many lines of code is it going to be? I made one where it was called Border Guard, and little guys try to get past your border, and you're a border guard. So imagine how you stop them. It's basically Space Invaders. I was surprised Gemini let me actually make the game. Okay, the game is done. Starfield background. Whoa, look at this. What is this? Press space to shoot?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Space
Look at that. I didn't even tell it what to do.
Galaga.
This is actually pretty good. Now, this is really cool. Look at this. How long did it take? A minute?
Version of Galaga.
It's even got stars in the background. Jeez, I'm impressed. But I'm kind of bored. Is there going to be a boss or anything? This is very similar to my Border Guard game. This is actually really cool. Look at this. It's got different colored aliens. And the rocket ship has a little fire under it. Man. This is pretty impressive. Look how easy it is. You know what to do? I'm going to put this in the App Store. Put it on the App Store, and I'll make $1 million. Look, I don't spend that much money on Gemini. We need a boss fight. Come on, I need power-ups. What's going on? I'll have to add those. But why would someone use that service? I mean, like, what kind of app are they doing? They're just claiming it's AI. Anyway, there you go, my friends. Hope you have fun. Be wary out there. You may be buying a service, and it could turn out that it was an Indian guy the whole time. All right. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We got more segments coming up for you, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know, and we'll see y'all in the next segment.
The older that you get, the harder that it is to find a partner. This isn't because the dating pool is less. It's actually because you acquire more trauma. And when you encompass trauma, which is something that you, me, everybody on planet Earth, sorry, life is traumatic. You know, trauma, I don't know what to tell you. As we acquire trauma, our brain is like, nope, never again. I'm not doing it like that. So it encapsulates it and says, no, we are not going to be in a relationship because that felt unsafe. So now in your brain, subconsciously, you believe that the only version of safety is by being single. And what's incredibly difficult is breaking outside of this pattern, breaking outside of your brain, changing, making a switch and forcing, maybe not forcing, but making a switch and finding peace, safety, and comfort within being vulnerable, within being in your feminine energy, within a relationship. If you are courageous enough to want to move outside this current reality into the relationship of your dreams, I'm offering a discount on my 8-week coaching program to supercharge you, get you in your feminine energy and outside of the trauma that you're living in. Comment or DM me the word moon.
You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI. Dang, Kareem, talking about profiting off of a woman's trauma. I mean, I'm sorry, but statistically speaking, men are by far and large more protective of their wives or significant others and their families than they are men who are practitioners of DV. This girl isn't blind. I'm very conscious that there are men out there who commit DV. And those who actually commit DV, not the ones who are accused, but the ones who are proven that they actually commit DV, should be judged by the system and given out a sentence accordingly. But not just the men, also the women who commit DV as well. And ladies, before you jump on the M2 movement saying, yeah, believe all of one gender against the other gender, irregardless if the other gender proclaims their innocence. I'm sorry, but we live in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty. I actually believe in due process. And as for this queen trying to make a quick buck up of some women's fear, like I say, who hurt you? Seriously, there's a reason why good men stay away from women like this one. Because I'm sorry, a woman like this, I wouldn't put it past her to bend the truth a tad bit just to get a man putting some very pretty new bracelets by other men. I mean, sister, I just gotta say it. When you try to sell fear like you're doing with the Kung Fu stance hand motions, the only thing that motivates this girl to do is to go watch some of Jackie Chan's old films. Before we move on, I want to say thank you, fam, to all of my subscribers for supporting this channel. I truly appreciate all of you who leave comments, who like my videos, and share them on other social media platforms. I truly gotta say thanks, fam. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you decide to hit that subscribe button. Moving on.
You know, sometimes I do wish that I could release the feeling of wanting companionship or relationship with my person, because I feel as though it has held me back in a lot of different ways. Being a single mother, it has really made me realize that I've spent a lot of wasted time wanting and waiting for my person. I'm not sure if I'm saying this because I've had several failed relationships, several people have wasted my time, several people have hurt me, several people have lied to me. But I just wish that I could remove that desire. That desire has held me back in so many different ways. For example, when it comes to traveling, I always said, oh, I want to start traveling with my person, with my friend, we can travel the world. And, you know, I'm not trying to do this big lavish thing, but whenever we have the time and money, we'll just pick a spot and we'll go and build memories. But that's always been my thing. I want someone I can build memories with. Now, here I am, 30. I've only been to one country outside of the United States. I've been to a few states, but I haven't really done much. And that's because I was waiting. I was waiting on my person. Now, I am thankful prior to me having my first child and only child, because we're done. I am so thankful that I still had a lot of drive and ambition to accomplish several financial goals, education goals, career goals. Doing that, I actually don't struggle 100% in single parenthood. I still struggle, but not completely, because I did set myself up. So I'm so happy I wasn't that silly waiting for a person. But as a single mother, I feel like there's so much I could have dedicated my time, my heart, my passions and feelings for instead of another person. Now, I don't know if I feel like this because I was listening to Solange at the table. That's my girl, my twin. I love Solange, okay? If I could be anybody, I want to try to with Solange. She be getting my feel. See, I don't know. I feel like I could be part of my cycle soon, but it's very unfortunate because I am a Scorpio and we love relationships. That is our thing. I'm about to reach 30. I just don't feel like I'm honestly going to meet my person and I just need to let it go. But it's been so hard for me to do that because it's something that I truly want. Now, don't get me wrong. One thing I love about being a Scorpio, we just don't act on our want. I can literally count all my relationships from my hand. I don't just be with nobody, honey. I don't just be with nobody. Have I made some mistakes in who I have chosen? Yes, for sure. I made you one. Now I'm sitting here with a child and trying to raise her by myself and function through life. It is what it is at this point. I just keep it moving. I don't know if anyone else out there feels that way as a young lady here in this world, especially if you are a single mom. If you do relate, let's talk in the comments. I don't know. I just want to talk about this and get it off my chest. Bye, girl.
Help, 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 bodies. Seriously, out of everything that she said, all I kept hearing was ways not to take accountability. All right, ladies, before you come at this girl saying, oh, you are just so mean, you always want to blame her, let's stop everything right there. Let's stop the aggression and the attacking and the shaming tactics, and let's look at this logically. Number one, the biggest thing out of all of this, she is the one who decided to become a single mom. I know you're going to say, what about the dad? Hold up a second. You see, in this country, in the U.S., men have 0 reproductive rights. She decided to make him a dad. She is the one who decided to bring the pregnancy to full term. Her saying about, oh, I can't find a relationship, the very first question my male viewers will ask, and they are right to ask it, is, why didn't you make things work out with the father? And before you say, well, maybe he was a deadbeat, he was a dusty, he's a brokey, whatever, guess who chose him? She did. This is why I started off saying accountability. Number one, you chose the father, and if you're going to say, well, he got me pregnant, okay, in this country, you're the one who gets all the choices here. You decide if you're going to bring the pregnancy to full term or not. And even after that, you're the one who decides if you're going to keep the child and become a mother and turn the man into a father, or you can decide to give him the kid for adoption. The point is, in the U.S. and the West in general, women have all the decision power to make. And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, you know, reproductive rights have been downgraded for women. Okay, is that a zero? So now that we put that to the side, she's all about, oh, all these failed relationships and all this time wasted with all these other men. Again, all I'm hearing is your choices, Chloe. You decided to be with other men. You decided to be a single mom. All this falls back onto you. I mean, more evidence that she doesn't take accountability. She says, oh, it's all because I'm a Scorpio. Again, I've said this several times before. I believe the reason that women love all that astrology crap is because it allows them to lazily set accountability for their actions onto planets and stars that are billions of miles away. I mean, women will do anything not to be accountable for their actions. And this single mother is no exception to the rule. In fact, she's about par for the course at this point. Now, I do admit that there was one point in her entire video that she actually accepted accountability when she mentioned the baby daddy who she chose. I mean, is there no wonder why the good men out there no longer want to help or date women like this? But don't worry, Colleen. Look at the bright side. In theory, the kids of a single mom do have some extra stuff that they could share and show and tell in school. I mean, they could say, yeah, I know who my mom is, I know who my dad is, and for a long time, I knew a bunch of guys who I thought were trying out for the stepdad position. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, they just didn't want it. Moving on.
One thing I understand about men is that they will not pursue you if they feel like they are not worthy of you. They will self-sabotage because they feel like what you bring to the table, like they cannot match up to that. If they feel like you're too smart, too ambitious, too anything, and they can't match up, they will self-sabotage. Before you think that you're the problem, what did I do wrong? No. It's almost like, what did you do right? You'd be surprised how many men will literally be like, okay, no, I'm not going to compete, or I'm not going to, like, try and pursue her because she's too much of this for me, or that for me. I promise you, is 99% never you. Don't be sitting around wondering about what happened with that guy. It's honestly that, not you.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
OMG, my young queen. This girl actually believes that ODing on copium should be illegal. I mean, okay, so basically, guys don't go after you because they're scared of you, because you are way above their level. You know, queen, why don't you just change that up a little bit? How about, I don't know, this crazy idea that the reason men don't go after you is because they believe that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You're not worth the chase. The taco isn't worth the headache. The gift inside the box isn't worth the unwrapping. I mean, I could go on, but I think my point is clear here. How about you tell all the other women, hey, you know what? If a lot of these guys don't go after you, I think logically we could say that the common denominator is you. Totally nutsy idea, but it is quite possible that the reason that you're not getting approached by the guys that you want, or should I say, you're not getting the relationship from the guys that you're attracted to is because they believe you're not good relationship material. Now, Colleen, before you start saying, oh, Gorilla, you're always blaming the women. No, I don't, not in every case. I just talk about the cases that you women are attracted to. Now, don't get me wrong. There are cases where a HVM takes a mid as his main. But usually, in those cases, he's very straight up with that main. He says, hey, check it out. You're going to be my main. I'm always going to come back to you. But every now and then, I'm going to get me a side piece. And if you can't handle this, you can go back to being alone. Food for thought. Moving on.
I'm not here to give any of y'all love advice. Don't get it twisted, okay? Y'all going on the internet and looking for love advice, you are literally asking for someone to tell you how to take yourself to the hospital. You are literally asking someone, hello, how do I get in the way of my predator so he can assault me? That's what you're asking. Hello, how do I find a man that will marry me and inevitably assault me and probably... That's what you're asking. When you guys go online and ask for love advice, there is no love outside of you, okay? Men are never going to love you. Men see you as a whole. That is all they see you as. I don't know where this idea is coming from that I'm probably giving love advice. I'm actually trying to tell y'all that these men hate you. They don't care. They don't care at all. They never have. Your family, your friends, the boyfriends you date, all of them, if they are a male, they don't care about you. Unless you have something to give them. They want one thing from you. They want your whole. That's it, okay? They don't give a... That's my love advice. They don't give a...
about you. Stop wasting time on dating apps. Stop wasting time with your f***ing boyfriends and sticking with them if they f***ing cheat on you. Stop wasting time forgiving men. They don't f***ing care. All you are doing is disrespecting yourself by staying with a f***ing loser, okay? They don't care. They cheat with no remorse. They talk to them with no remorse. They will go beat it off to God knows what kind of videos. They don't f***ing care about humanity. They don't care about you. They are just ready to go to war when the government tells them to go. They are not here to love you, okay? Way too many examples of men being horrible people, okay? This is not some sort of like, oh, society made them this way. They grape their family, okay? They grape their blood, all right? They grape everybody. Everybody. There is no limits. You guys are not understanding. Like, there is no point to try to date them. It will not give you anything, but it might send you to a mental asylum, okay? Do not tell them anything. Do not care about them. Care about yourself. There's my love advice. Decenter these rats.
All right, man, we'll send you to an asylum. Okay, Queen, I'm gonna tell you right now. The one who needs to go to an asylum isn't man. I would say it would be you. I mean, seriously, that is some really impressive kind of talk that you're saying there. I mean, men who do DV and all these things that you're claiming are a very small minority. I'm talking about less than 1% of men actually do that. 99% plus of all men are actually decent men who just want to have a family and want to take care of their women and their children. I mean, this Queen is talking like the movie The Color Purple is like her chest-thumping dogma to go to default. Go complete misandrist on this one. Men are no good. You gotta stay away from men. Look here, listen, Queen, let me tell you something. Everything that you said is contrary to popular belief. In fact, it's contrary to statistical data. If you look at statistical data, you know what kind of relationships has the highest amount of DV per capita? That would be lesbian relationships. I mean, women with women have the highest amount of DV, have the highest amount of divorce rates. So how can you blame men for those? Listen, I'm not here to point fingers. This is what I was just going to say. You obviously have some problems. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you are a vile young female. This girl believes that you have unresolved traumas. Maybe daddy issues. And maybe because of those daddy issues, you actually went out to date a guy who was destined for the prison system because he just couldn't keep his hands to himself. That's what it sounds like to me here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I got to say, it seems to me that you chose wrong. It seems to me that you chose the guy who decides, hey, you know what? These hands are rated E for everyone. And he started giving out a 2-for-1 special when it came to violence. But I gotta say, just because you experienced a guy who's that bad, does not mean that every guy's like that. Just like this girl will be the first to say, not every woman is a bad woman. Are there good women out there? Yes, they are. Although, I do recognize that in the West, especially in the U.S., that percentage is a very low number. But they still do exist. How about this, Colleen? How about you slow down and you decide, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of saying that all men are bad, I could say that I do recognize that some men are bad, but most men are not. I mean, I'm sorry. It's really easy to put a man behind bars in the U.S. All you got to do is accuse him of a crime. I mean, that doesn't even have to be any evidence. You just tell the cops, hey, you know what? Hey, Mr. Police Officer, my boyfriend beat the crap out of me. Even though he never really laid a hand on me, I feel that he should go to jail. And bam! He's behind prison, and he's trying to prove his innocence. But look at the bright side, Queen. Your way of thinking guarantees lawyers that they're going to have a payday coming up. Thanks to you. I'm just saying, if you enjoyed this audit, click on the video in the end screen for more content. If you would like to support the channel, please follow the link in the description to donate to our beer fund. Or like, subscribe, and share this video on other social media platforms. If you agree or disagree with anything about this audit, please let us know in the comments. I'm going to do this audit right here. I'll see all of you in the next episode.
Welcome back, Tribe. I have an episode here from the Cyberpunk Dingo. He says, same collapse. The truth is worse than you think. 3 nations. Same collapse.
Nations, oceans apart. Picture this. 3 nations, oceans apart, yet crumbling in lockstep. Canada's middle class is drowning in debt and housing costs. The UK's factories are ghosts. Its taxes choking what's left. Australia's flooding with newcomers while wages flatline and homes turn to fantasies. Same story, different accents, and across 3 continents. Stagnation, soaring wealth for the few, and a quiet erosion of what once made them strong. Problems are almost interchangeable, and every time I've covered these countries before, the similarities were uncanny. like the same script copy-pasted across the map. So, how did this happen? More curiously, why does it feel so deliberate? It's not chaos, it's a plan, and it's called managed decline.
Managed decline. And the good news is this, most people don't want managed decline.
But they are in managed decline.
Managed decline.
Seriously, this has happened before. Let's rewind back to Rome. As you do, you see a squint. The parallels are almost unnerving. Rome didn't collapse overnight. It rotted from within, century by century. By the 2nd century AD, Rome's economy was addicted to expansion. Conquer, plunder, repeat. But when the conquest slowed, so did the spoils. To keep the elite rich, they turned inward. Massive estates called latifundia devoured the countryside, worked by endless streams of imported slave labor from Gaul, Britannia, and beyond. Meanwhile, small Roman farmers, the backbone of the Republic, were crushed, pushed off their land, drowned in debt, replaced by cheap foreign hands. By the time of Tiberius and Gaius in the late 2nd century BC, the problem was so severe they tried land reforms to redistribute property back to ordinary Romans. It didn't end well. Both were assassinated by the Senate. The status quo, as always, won. And when Rome's population declined and birth rates dropped, they opened the borders, not out of charity, but survival. Under Emperor Caracalla in 212 AD, Roman citizenship was extended to nearly every freeman in the empire. The reason? Taxes. Rome needed revenue, and selling citizenship was good business.
I told you guys, selling citizenship.
Gold card. Sound familiar? You've got Trump's, instant gold U.S. citizenship, and you have Dick Durbin, Illinois senator, opening the borders to citizenship for illegals, provided they are honorably discharged from a complete tour of service in the military.
What we're doing with global transit, we can travel everywhere now. Transportation, they couldn't even fathom that you can go from country to country in mere hours. And now people are doing these mass migrations with boats, with planes, and not leaving when they're supposed to, or throwing their paperwork out into the water. They owe you no allegiance. They don't care about these countries they're coming to leech. People think that importing these millions of migrants, illegal migrants too, is going to somehow help the economy and plug all the holes we have in labor. No, it isn't. They create their own parallel societies. Crime skyrockets, rape skyrockets, unemployment skyrockets, and the social support system collapses.
This is an absolute fact. I've worked as a logistics manager for home appliance deliveries, and all of my driving teams that did deliveries were of a particular group south of our region. And aside from that job, they kept to themselves. They were intermarried, interrelated, pretty much all of them, and if they weren't, they were part of that community. Furthermore, where I currently live, I do have one set of neighbors that they do their job. They get up every day, go to their job, carpool together, and do that function. How they do it, why they do it, I'm not going to get into. But when offered, oh, you've got this issue with your vehicle or with your home, nope, I got a friend, and that friend is of that same ethnic group as they. Rather than creating new connections, they would rather play the R card and say, well, everybody's an R, while insulating themselves from making connections with those that are immediately around them. It's amazing to me.
Collapses on itself. Then it empties the coffers of the state, and then the state raises the taxes on the citizens, crushing their ability to get prosperity. And then the cycle repeats, and it accelerates. It's accelerating. I think we're just repeating the Roman Republic, or the Empire's fall, at an accelerated rate. Like, we're condensing their millennia of decline into probably 100 years, if that, by the looks of what's happened.
Soon, the legions themselves, once the pride of Roman citizens, were filled with foederati. Foreign mercenaries from the very tribes Rome had once fought. Goths, Vandals, Franks. By the 5th century, generals like Flavius Stilicho, himself of barbarian descent, were running the show. And in 410 AD, when the Visigoths sacked Rome, many of them were former allies who had been on the imperial payroll just years earlier. There's this quote from historian Peter Heather describing late Rome. The affluent lived in slums and survived on handouts, while semi-Romanized Goths defended the frontiers. Vast estates swallowed up the countryside, plebeian farmers were buried in debt, and all the while, the empire collapsed under the weight of its own size. Sound familiar? The concept of managed decline has quietly migrated from the ruins of...
In America, that reminds me of that Indian congressman that's trying to impeach Trump. And he could hardly, like, he speaks English with a heavy accent. He barely came to the United States like 15 years ago or something like that, of that nature. That's what that reminds me of. And then the Tiberius and the other one getting assassinated, it reminds me of, like, JFK. They tried to right the ship and they were killed for it. The Senate revolted. Sound familiar?
History into modern policy. Originally, it was a business term. It was used when a company was too...
How many foreigners are in our military in the United States now? Sound familiar?
But gone to say, the management focused on slowing down the collapse, salvaging what they could, and keeping appearances up on the way down. But it didn't stay in the boardroom for long. By the early 1980s, it entered government strategy. When Liverpool erupted into riots after years of economic decay, Margaret Thatcher's closest advisors floated the idea of abandoning the city to manage decline. Let the industry rot, let the people move, contain the damage. Don't waste time on revival. Thatcher ultimately rejected the idea, but the Strays stuck around because quietly it solves a very inconvenient problem. When the effort required to fix something becomes greater than the political will, managed decline offers an easy way out. Stop trying to save it, just control the collapse. And what began as a tactic for fading cities or dying companies is now happening on a national scale. Canada, the UK, Australia. These are no longer systems anyone in charge seems particularly interested in fixing. Debts climb, industries die, borders stay open. The middle class is squeezed until it vanishes. And instead of turning the ship around, governments are focused on slowing the sinking because that's all managed decline really is. A decision. A decision not to save you. A decision to make collapse look orderly. And if you're enjoying this video so far, an actually great decision you could make, Canada. In the last decade, business investment per worker has fallen by 20%, while productivity has barely budged. Since 2015, Canada's GDP per capita growth has averaged just 0.9% per year. By 2022, it wasn't just lagging, it was dead last among OECD countries. And the response? Rather than fix the underlying rot, Canada has become addicted to importing growth. In 2023 alone, the population surged by over 1.2 million people, the fastest pace since 1957. But nearly all that growth has gone into inflating housing demand and pushing up GDP on paper. In reality, the country's housing stock per person is shrinking, and infrastructure hasn't kept pace. Home prices remain out of reach, real wages are stagnant, and young people are drowning in debt. Across the ocean, the UK has been living in its own economic nightmare. After 2008, the UK's productivity flatlined. From 2008 to 2019, GDP per hour worked grew just 0.3% per year, the slowest rate since the Industrial Revolution. Meanwhile, real wages in 2023 were still lower than in 2008, marking the longest pay stagnation in over 200 years. Investment has dried up. Business investment as a share of GDP lags behind nearly every major economy. And what growth the UK has scraped together? It's come from the same place as Canada. Rapid population increases, with net migration hitting a record 745,000 in 2022. But public services, housing and infrastructure have been left behind. The NHS is on life support. Housing is scarce and wildly expensive, and the tax burden has reached its highest level since the 1940s. And then there's Australia. Between 2000 and 2020, GDP per capita growth slowed to just 1.1% per year, down from 2.3% in the decades prior. Productivity productivity growth has nearly stalled. And while Australia posts flashy GDP numbers, much of it is built on mining exports and record migration, not genuine economic dynamism. In 2023, Australia's population grew by 660,000 people, the highest number ever recorded. But instead of wealth trickling down, housing prices hit record highs and rental vacancies dropped below 1%. Real wages fell and infrastructure groaned under the weight of rapid growth. And here's a common thread. In all three countries, business investment per worker is falling, productivity is flatlining, wages are stagnant, but GDP keeps growing. Why is that? Because the population keeps growing. Managed decline is less about falling off a cliff and more about quietly swapping out real, sustainable wealth creation for paper growth. Build less, import more, inflate the numbers. So how did three wealthy, stable nations all end up circling the same drain? It wasn't bad luck or random mismanagement. There's a pattern, and it starts with a shift in priorities. In the late 20th century, Canada, the UK, and Australia made a quiet trade-off. They abandoned a long-term nation building for short-term gains. Instead of investing in industry, infrastructure, or national self-reliance, they handed the reins to finance, real estate, and migration as the primary engines of growth. Why build factories when you can just sell houses to each other at inflated prices? Why invest in homegrown talent when you can import cheaper labor? Why prioritize national prosperity when global capital offers bigger profits elsewhere?
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
Look at Australia. Its government actively shaped the economy around property speculation with tax breaks like negative geared.
Oh, hell no. $2.48 million median price for this crack house. This is a crack house. I don't even think crackheads would go in there to do crack. That would spook even them. They got higher standards. And that's $2.48 million. Holy shit. Wow. Managed decline my ass, dude. And capital gains discount designed to pump the housing market, even if it priced locals out. In Canada, government-backed mass immigration policies were sold as economic boosters, but behind the scenes, they were helping prop up GDP growth and housing demand. Everybody knows the economy's fake. The jobs are fake. Wall Street posting record profits while Main Street is barely hanging on by a thread. Everybody will tell you, life's too expensive, we can't afford anything, but they keep telling us GDP is growing. We're making record profits. Nobody, the average man, isn't seeing that. These same issues are going on in the United States. We're voting to raise the debt ceiling in the United States. We're kicking the can down the road. Big, beautiful bill. Okay, we voted for a conservative, a fiscally conservative government. How the fuck are we going to tack on $5 to $6 trillion over the next, like, 5 years with this bill?
Fiscally conservative means, oh, we're only going to spend a little bit more than last year versus the other guys who were going to spend 10 times as much as we did last year. That's not fiscally conservative. That's still a leaky boat.
It's insane, dude. It's insane. We don't have real leaders. I told you guys, I mentioned this in videos about, I don't know how many months ago, maybe a year ago. We don't have real leaders in the West. We just have these managers, and they're terrible at their job. And managed decline is a perfect word for it. We don't have anybody with the balls, truly the balls, to really radically shake the system in each of these countries. Not one. Why? Because you have to do things that are truly unpopular. You have to legitimately mass deport and their kids, the people that have come into these countries, infinity. First of all, let's just talk infinitely in the past. If you're an illegal migrant, you got to get deported, period. Don't care. Illegal, you broke the law, you get deported. Okay, great. Even the ones that came illegally but had kids and got granted citizenship, deported. You're going to have to get deported. Sorry, doesn't matter. Deport. Granting citizenship because they served in the army, that's crazy. People today will look at that, well, they're willing to die for the country. Yeah, it's a trade-off, but you don't want a country whose army is completely comprised of foreigners. We should take all this money and reinvest it in our own people, reinvest it in our own communities, reinvest it in our own cities. Why do we have all these homeless? Why do we have, we have housing? Because 20 million people, for example, came across the border in the United States. We have housing shortages. Housing prices went up. Cost of living is getting worse. There are no jobs. Real leaders who've tried to change the system like JFK, we know what happens to people like JFK, who was investing in his own country, men. You remember they had the Sierra project for high schoolers where they were doing all those exercises on those monkey bars and all that other stuff? He was investing in a strong, healthy nation. He said, we need people, our young people, to be strong. Our young people are the future of this country. What do we do today? We sell out our young people by feeding them poisonous food by multinational corporations that don't give a shit about people's health. All this prepackaged food, this processing, absolute garbage. They only care about it sitting on the shelf for 20 fucking years without looking like it rotted. 1 second of rot needs to be on there. Nothing. It's perfect. Those tomatoes, they last on the shelves for weeks. That's insane. You know, our fruits, our vegetables, all this GMO shit. And our politicians gladly sold us out to these corporations. Why? Because they got lobbied. That's what we call it in the United States, lobbied. Corruption, bro. It's a bribe. They sat down. They discussed. That guy got handed money or helped in a campaign with a super PAC. He gets voted. All of a sudden, this company can feed you GMO slop. Congratulations. That's called being sold out to special interests by your elected representative. Public servant is what they're called. But they only serve their masters who pay for their campaigns. Almost no politician campaigns for the actual person. Like the populist messaging, that shit just, it's hijacked. It's bullshit. Populist president and Trump, where, bro, where? You took money from billionaires. You took money from Peter Thiel. You met with Peter Thiel. I'm not trying to make this political, but you have to say this stuff out loud because people forget. You met a billionaire with his protege, and after you were given money, you then elect the protege as your running mate. And your protege, he's been getting groomed to be the president for a while now. And there's a bunch of other shit in there, but it doesn't matter. It's managed decline. Like, the presidents aren't the ones really running the show. As you can see, even though half of the shit Trump said on the campaign trail, he can't even get done. You can blame the Democrats, but there's also, quote, rhinos that are stopping him from doing that. So if we give him the benefit of doubt, say Trump is the people's man, and he's trying to really change the system, make America great again, look, the machine around him won't let him. The machine around him, as soon as he steps into the White House, tells him what he can and cannot actually do. The men in dark suits come, and they tell you who runs the show for real. It's a charade. The only way we're going to get over this, and it's the only way, you're not voting your way out of this. I can't even tell you. History tells you exactly what happened. Political changes were changed rapidly, and what that entailed. What is a revolution? What is that? What happens? What did it take? Ask yourself. Look up history. If you want change, it only comes in one way. Nobody ever voted their way out of tyranny. This is what people are starting to wake up to. I think more and more people are getting blackpilled because everybody had hope. You vote an outsider in, he comes in, changes the system. You see that the outsider comes in, and the system swallows him up, and you can't change anything. Then you start to realize, well, shit, it's way worse than we thought. The entire machine is broken. It's not just the leadership, because it's easy to say, well, the leaders, they're shit. It was just our leader problem. We just swap a leader. Next vote, we'll swap in a better guy. We got the guy we thought was better. Better guy comes in, not shit changed. Not a goddamn thing. Country's still in debt. Massive reforms to fix the budget never happened. We tacked on more debt. Open borders, closed them. 20 million people still came in. By next election, if they lose, might get reopened again. It's like, it's all distraction. Hey, check this out. We closed the border. Oh, but we're going to pass an AI bill that for 10 years you can do whatever you want, no regulation. Oh, you mean like create a system, a database on all Americans from their social media posts to their banking information, to their GPS coordinates, to anything else, so that someday in the future, a government that is not friendly to its citizenry can enforce with authoritarian measures complete and utter control. But we're distracted right now. We got the clown show charade going on here. It's all theater. We got, Trump and Elon having a spat on Twitter. Our leaders can't even disagree in private and fix the problems with some dignity. We're throwing shade and shit. It's entertaining to see. I post that stuff because it's funny as fuck to see. Look at the state of our leadership. You can take a step back. If you're a Trump fan, Elon fan, whatever, you can take a step back and at least appreciate this. It's not a good look for anybody to go back and forth on fucking Twitter of all things. Being one of the richest men and most powerful man in the country, or in the world, excuse me, and then being the most powerful man in the world. Allegedly, when you have your puppet masters pulling the strings, we'll just say that. Buckle up, boys. I'm telling you, it's going to get way worse.
while wages stagnated. In the UK, the architects of austerity gutted public services while pushing policies that favoured multinational finance over local communities. London's banking sector boomed, northern manufacturing towns withered. At every turn, the same lot.
And you know, it was, just go a step back, because I know the red pill likes to say, women's feminism's fault, women ruined everything. No, they got women to work to increase the tax base. Then all the women are now working. Tax base can't be increased unless you do what? Open the border and pour millions and millions and millions of people in the country. That's your next stage of opening up the tax base to take in more revenues to manage the decline. What comes after that? There's probably going to be discussions, because they already tried. There's probably going to be discussions going back to that citizenship. Think like 20 years from now, maybe 15 years from now. Let's just say Democrats win one of those because people are unhappy with what the Republicans did. They managed to rebrand because they have to, or else they'll keep losing. So they'll kick some of the more radical leaning ideologies out of the party, but they will institute, just as Rome did, citizenship for all. If you made it in America at this point, legal or illegal, it's just too much money to deport every single person. So what we're going to do is shut the borders down, but everybody that's in here will have to participate in the system, and that is like 30, 40 million illegal immigrants, and now you are United States citizens. We're going to fast-track this, and that shit, that's over. The faucet stops dripping now. Cut it off. Okay? And you'll get it sold. It'll probably get sold to you in 15 years from now. They'll sell it to you like, listen, we have too many people in the shadow economy. We have shut the borders down. Not a single person is going to come in this country illegally anymore. We have stringent entry requirements. And what we're going to do is, in order to get these people to participate fully in the economy, we're going to blanket give citizenship to everybody that's made it in America, barring they don't have any criminal history, and they will produce tax money and pay their share that they owe for living here. And people are going to be like, yeah, this guy's going to fix everything. Fuck yeah, new taxes. This will help balance the budget. We're fucking so bad. We're done. We're fucking cooked is what we are. Nobody's got the balls to do what you really have to do. Citizen soldiers, bro. We're going to have to make military mandatory. We're going to have to change the military completely. The standards to enter the military. The standards to go to college. We live in an era of like a bigotry of low expectations for all. We're treated like children in adult bodies. The government literally acts like we're cattle. They have no standards, or there's no standards being set amongst ourselves. This is part of the managed decline. The standards in general for roads, from everything from roads to dating to marriage to all the standards are dropping slowly. Managed decline, like they call it. It's not just the economy. It's the culture that's managing its decline. The socially engineering us to accept less. Expect less from the government. People are going to shit on me and be like, stop talking shit about my daddy Trump. Because they got low expectations, bro. And they accept that this is good. We should have a president that's going back to back on fucking meltdowns and crash outs with fucking Elon and shit. We should have a president that, XYZ. You can insert anything that Trump hasn't done that lives up to the standard that we expect from a president of the United States. But he's got his, fangirls and shit. And the Democrats are the same. They got their fangirls and their mark, because they're all managers. These aren't real leaders. Let's be honest with ourselves. Name the top 5 presidents. I hear this crazy shit. It blows my mind. Trump is the greatest president we've ever had. The glazing on some of these people is crazy. Like, really? Not even the greatest president in my lifetime, which is a nice modification of that. I'll give you that, bro. You might be 5 years old or some shit. Okay, fine. But, just saying. How the fuck did we go from a balanced budget with Clinton? We ran a surplus. W. Bush gets in office, we're running a massive deficit, and on the cut, he starts. At the end of Bush's, people forgot this, on the end of Bush's term under Republicans, the housing market crash started, 2007. The Great Recession started under Republicans. Obama came in his first 4 years, he actually managed to, I don't even know, looking back on it, I can't even remember if he managed to fix it, and our economy ended up rebounding and all that, but I don't know if we rebounded correctly, like for the average person, or that shit was just paper again. On paper, our GDP started growing, Wall Street started doing well, but the average American never recovered for 08, 09. So whatever, on paper, we recovered. And then we had another 4 years of Obama. They're pretty lame. Hey, he managed to get Osama killed. That was kind of tight. All right, cool story. That was cool. And then
Burial at sea, so there's no body. Yeah, I doubt he actually was in this.
you had when Trump came in, and then Biden, and then Trump again. But we had a surplus not too long. This isn't like ancient shit. Like back before we had a central bank. But when these banksters came in with their economic booms and busts and these cycles, and then they took us off the fucking gold standard. Nixon ruined America. Blah, blah, blah. We had a budget surplus.
We're all Keynesians now. No, we're not. No one is, with the right mind, a Keynesian.
In the 90s, guys. We don't have to look back that far. That's the point. And I'm not like, saying, again, and people are going to make, so you like Clinton, huh? Mr. Blowjob in Chief? You know he just drinks children's blood and shit over on the island. That's not what I don't give a fuck about any of that in this conversation. What I'm saying is, economically, we had a surplus, boys. What's happening? How did we get? What are we in debt right now? 37 trillion, $34 trillion in debt, some shit like that? Do you know we pay over $1 trillion in interest? Did you guys even know that the Bank of Japan is thinking about raising rates? And that's going to fuck our economy. Japan owns the largest amount. They're the single largest owner of U.S. treasuries. We've been living on easy mode because the Bank of Japan has basically been financing America's economic boom for the last, I don't know, like 40-something years. The carryover trade. Do you guys know about that? It's like this magic thing where you can go get money in Japan for zero interest, or sometimes less than zero. Yeah, so it costs you nothing. It's free money. And then you take all that and invest it in America and get America's interest rates that they're paying out on your money. Do you guys know that this was like a global thing happening? That America's boom was supported by the Bank of Japan. And now the Bank of Japan, because the Japanese are feeling it right now. And their economics aren't good. They're stagnating. They've been stagnating since...
And what he's not including in that is back in the 90s when Japan had its bust, you know, when their market fell through the floor, it was because U.S. black operations were funding Japan and their explosive technology and manufacturing growth as a anchorhead, you know, to spy on China and monitor China from a safe distance. The same thing. So, yeah, this whole, you know, think of that image where it's the three individuals, you know, most often it's like the man and the two women, or the woman and the two men, but she's sitting in the open holding hands with the one man, but then behind the couch she's holding hands with the other man, you know. Now, think of that image where nobody's hands are being held up front, they're all being held behind the couch. That's what's being described here in terms of money management. They're doing it under black ops. That's why there's $1 trillion missing from DOD the day before 9/11 and such as that.
The 90s, they've been flat on growth with an aging population, which is causing them a lot of economic distress. So they have to raise rates to save themselves. If they raise rates, if there's no backroom deal done with the United States to fix this problem, because we had a Bank of Japan scare earlier, not too long ago, a few months ago, that completely tanked the fucking markets. And if they have to raise rates to save themselves, and America doesn't step in with the back channels and like they make a deal to make the carryover trade still work with the yen, oh boy, get ready for interest rates on your house, on your car, on your loans, on everything to like more than double. Immediately. More than double. Immediately. Just like that. Imagine paying 14% on a house, potentially. Imagine your car loan, whatever it's at. If you're one of the military boys paying 29% on that Charger, that shit might go to 60%. That's fucking wild, bro. You're in debt for life for a fucking car. The basic Charger, too. You didn't even splurge, boys. You're done for. People don't know what's going on behind the scenes like this. Shit is crazy.
Logic applied. Prioritize global markets, maximize short-term profits, and if the people complain, just tell them the economy's growing. But growing for who? Because while the numbers numbers might look good on a spreadsheet, these decisions followed out the foundation of prosperity, replacing real productive economies with financialized bubbles, endless population growth, and mounting inequality. If you've ever played Mortal Kombat, you know the move. The cheap, endless combo you spam when you're getting destroyed just to stay alive. Well, for our government, that combo is mass immigration. When your population stops having kids, when housing costs crush young families, wages stagnate, and a future feels impossible, there's only one way to keep the GDP graph from flatlining. Spam immigration. In Canada, over 1.25 million arrivals in 2023, a number that used to be unthinkable. The plan is to hit 500,000 permanent residents every year, not because the people ask for it, but because the government needs fresh bodies to fill the tax pool. In fact, under the Century Initiative, there is a plan to get that number to 100 million by 2100. Australia, an eye-watering 700,000 people added in just 12 months. Not a single major party wants to slow it down. In fact, the Prime Minister can even be seen dining with people who run ghost colleges that import fake students by the thousands. The UK, net migration sitting at 672,000 last year. Despite years of public pushback, the Prime Minister there finally even admitted that it was all by design.
And found the previous government were running an open borders experiment.
A primary reason for all of this is the collapse of family formation. In Canada, birth rates have collapsed to 1.3 children per woman, the lowest in its history. In Australia, fertility has plunged below 1.6, and internal reports show that without record migration, the economy would shrink. And in the UK, birth rates at 1.5. Can you blame young people for not being able to start a family? Costs are extremely high. The government and the left repeat the message that kids are bad for the planet and that careers and consumerism are life's ultimate goal. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A nation that refuses to build a future for its own people is a nation that's already chosen decline, and the only thing left to do is manage it. Moving beyond the economy, there's one more piece to this puzzle of decline. Because once you've gutted the middle class, driven up housing, crushed wages, and opened the floodgates of immigration to patch over the cracks, you still need to make sure people don't push back. And that's where cultural engineering kicks in.
There we go.
If you want to keep a population docile while their living standards evaporate, there's a simple formula. First, you strip away national pride. Then, you replace it with guilt. In Canada, mass migration has been rebranded as nation building, a moral good in itself, regardless of the strain it puts on housing, healthcare, or wages. As Justin Trudeau bluntly put it, there is no national identity. Canada is the first post-national state. In Australia, the public is bombarded with slogans about welcoming refugees and celebrating diversity, even as wages stagnate and the infrastructure buckles under the weight of record arrivals. Ironically, a growing share of Australians aren't even descended from the original British settlers, but that doesn't stop the endless apologies. And in the UK, any attempt to even define Britishness is met with suspicion. The government's Prevent program, originally designed to catch extremists, now spends its time policing war crimes. Teachers have been referred for questioning traditional gender roles. One of the program's own independent reviewers admitted that Prevent has drifted into monitoring mainstream political opinions while missing the real threats. Identity isn't the only thing that gets dissolved. It's the whole foundation of meaning. Family, framed as outdated, expensive, and environmentally irresponsible. Christianity, branded as oppressive and bigoted, while governments and institutions bend over backwards for Islam. History, reduced to nothing more than colonial guilt and shame. And if you dare push back on any of this, there's a system for that too. In Australia, there's now a literal e-safety commissioner, basically a minister for truth, tasked with policing online arms, which increasingly means opinion government doesn't like. Canada's rushing through its own online censorship laws under the guise of preventing harm, while failing infrastructure and hospitals get ignored. And in Britain, the speech police are already out in full force. Under laws against hate incidents, citizens have been arrested for things as simple as social media posts criticizing migration. This concept of managed decline does actually benefit a lot of people. Obviously, it isn't you. The real game is about locking in a system where a tiny elite gets rich off the decay. Start with politicians. For them, decline is easy money. They don't have to fix the economy or boost productivity. They just massage the numbers. GDP down, flooding more people. Wages stagnant. Doesn't matter if the stock market's up. Housing unaffordable. They've got investment properties to cash out on. In Canada, members of parliament own rental properties while entire generations can't even imagine buying their first home. In Australia, 1 in 3 politicians are landlords. The worse things get for you, the better they get for them. But they're not alone. The corporate class thrives in this system. Manufacturing shipped offshore for cheap labour years ago. Those local factory jobs, gone. Replaced with 0-hour contracts and gig work. And because there's always more people arriving to compete, the wages never really climb. The competition keeps the labour costs low and the profits high. In the UK, real wages have barely moved in decades, while energy giants and grocery chains post record profits. Managed decline means just enough survival to keep people working, but never enough to build real wealth. Then there's the landlords and property developers. Shrink the dream of home ownership, crank up demand, and watch the prices soar. Foreign investors scoop up entire neighbourhoods, and you're left competing for overpriced shoebox apartments while being told the solution is more development, more construction, more debt. Banks, of course, love it. You can't afford a house, but you can afford a mortgage you'll die with. In Canada, household debt has exploded past 180% of income. In Australia, similar story. Mortgages big enough to choke a horse. And all the while, interest payments just keep slowing up. On top of all of that, the bureaucratic machine grows fatter by the day. Whole industries built on decline. Think tanks, diversity councils, migration agencies, welfare administrators, all managing the fallout while collecting a government paycheck. As public services fall apart, they expand. And the cherry on top, the more fractured, overworked, indebted, and divided a population becomes, the less likely they are to push back. And nobody is pushing back. Perhaps some people live through what happens in the USA, drowning themselves with large sporting events and Taylor Swift's newest tour. But what right and left-wing governments in these 3 countries, perhaps even learning from each other, have done is create a system where decline doesn't feel like collapse. It's slow, wrapped up in polite press conferences and predictable talking points. They shuffle the chairs, swap the faces, blame the other side, tweak the slogans. And meanwhile, year after year, things just get worse. Remember, Rome's collapse did not happen in a year or 2. It dragged on for centuries, rotting from within while the people carried on, convinced the empire was too big, too important, too permanent to fail. They still filled their arenas. They still paid their taxes. They still told themselves the next emperor might turn it all around. And yet, behind the scenes, the machine was already broken. For the UK, Australia, and Canada, perhaps this fate isn't too far away either. The machine is already breaking. The only question left is how long we keep pretending it isn't. Hey.
Beautiful way to end that. Not just these 3 countries, the entire Western world. This one says Australia should be one of the richest countries on Earth just because of the rare earth and mineral resources. Nobody should be struggling. But no, we sell it out to private companies for a nickel, and then they charge you $1 to buy it back. We lease ports for 99 years to China for next to nothing, and then freak out if a couple of war cruisers ship about in international waters. Honestly, stop voting for the same people. Try something new. Can't get any worse. And stop watching all the garbage on TV. You're almost there, bro. You said stop voting for the same people. Then stop voting and the other stuff. George Orwell. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Good luck out there, boys. Save those pennies or invest in gold or other assets that do well while we're doing our, quote, managed decline. Safe haven assets. The paper currency we have is losing value by the day, and hopefully you manage to escape the worst of it. Take care of yourself. We'll see you on the next one.
Eventually, down the line, there's going to be an expectation, if you're in a relationship with a single mother, the single mother is going to expect the guy to provide, not just for you, but for the kid. And so that adds like sort of a double duty to provide for a child that's not yours. The issue with that, though, is there's all the responsibility, but none of the corresponding authority. So she might expect you to provide, but she might not allow you, as the guy, to have any authority over the child. To me, if you're going to be responsible providing for a child and you're going to step in as a stepfather, you aren't given authority over the kid. Like, most single moms are not going to like allow you to discipline their kid, but they will expect you to provide for their kid. So it's all the responsibility with none of the authority. And actually, there are some single mothers who have an expectation that the guy start providing instantly. For example, you hear these stories of women wanting men to pay for the babysitter like on the first date.
This brutally exposes the raw unfairness men face with single mothers, expected to carry full financial responsibility for kids that aren't theirs, yet denied any real authority or respect in raising them. It's a one-sided deal where men are bank accounts, not partners. Some women even demand support up front, treating men like wallets instead of equals. It's exploitation disguised as family.
Meet somebody and have kids, it could be even a little bit intimidating, you know, because single moms, they have a lot of responsibilities. And
yeah, you gotta step up as much as you've never even had.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you have to realize that I feel like you will always be choice number 2. Do you agree to that?
This brutally sums up the harsh truth. Men stepping into single mums' lives are often stuck as backup options, second choice, not priority. They're expected to take on big responsibilities with little appreciation or respect, always knowing they're competing for attention and love. It's a thankless role where men sacrifice and get sidelined, treated like plan B in someone else's life.
I'm making $300K a year with a hot girl, but she has a baby. What's your advice? Be honest, I'm fit and sexy.
If you like the girl, man, stay with her. My dad married a hot girl with a baby. My mom, right? She had my sister. She's dope. I didn't even know that she wasn't my dad's biological daughter until someone like told me. And I was like old as shit. I didn't even know we had different dads. You know, he just took her in, and it was fine. If you like the girl.
This brutally exposes the reality. Women often want men to provide unconditionally, no questions asked, baby or not. Men are expected to step up financially and emotionally, regardless of past baggage, simply because they're fit and sexy or successful. It's less about love and more about what the man can offer, turning relationships into transactions where men carry the burden.
When you're a guy and you make money, you want to put and invest your money in your offspring, not in other people's offspring.
Yeah.
That's just the natural way of the world. That's how things go. Men typically want to take care of their own children.
What if she's a millionaire and she helps and builds an empire with that man?
Okay, well, even better. If you're a millionaire,
it is white chicken seed.
Too, right?
Exactly, but who said anything about broke?
Yeah, but, okay, good. So, what do millionaires have that are men?
But my thing is, like...
Hold on, answer the question. What do men have that are millionaires? Which means they can date girls that aren't millionaires and be happy. You, on the other hand, can't date a broke guy and be happy. So they can get a girl that's 21, that isn't a millionaire, that doesn't have children, that can give them a family, and you won't have to take on someone else's kids.
Men don't owe it to anyone to date single mums. Taking on someone else's children and baggage is a huge responsibility that not every man wants or should accept. Men deserve relationships where they're valued, not burdened with obligations that aren't theirs. Choosing a partner without complicated ties is a smart move, not a moral failing.
I married a single mom. That was an experience by itself. My mom told me, Walter, why are you marrying a single mom? You know, we have to go through it. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do it because, one, I did all for religion because I was moving in with her. I didn't want to be like a bad person. So I came from Barbados a year in. I met that chick I went with downtown, and then 6 months later we dated, and then got married a year after. The point being is that, like, in that moment, I felt alone. And let me explain. So I dated a single mom. If you live with that person, it's her and her kid against you, always in the house. It may sound weird, but, like, that is a feeling I can't ever replicate. It's a powerful feeling. Long story short, basically I dated her, you know, she was a very good girl, cook, clean, smart, whenever I wanted to. She's perfect. The problem was that, like, the kid came between me and her. It happened in all scenarios, but at the same time, it's like, look, I can't say America to win, become successful, be somebody, right? That was holding me back. I'll never forget. I sat in my car one day after work. I was like, yo, I'm not happy. I gotta figure this shit out, because, like, I care about her, I respect her, but I just can't be in this scenario. So I went on YouTube. I typed in, how to date a single mother. Man, when I figured out videos, I found a bunch of our friends we met doing podcasts. I found a bunch of other creators, and I'm like, yo, I can't do this shit anymore.
Men are expected to take on the heavy burden of raising kids that aren't theirs, a responsibility many simply can't handle emotionally or mentally. Women, meanwhile, rarely face the same pressure to care for other women's children. If roles were reversed, no woman would tolerate stepping into that kind of complicated situation. It's unfair how society pushes men to bear this unequal load.
If you don't want to end up heartbroken or broke AF, there are 5 things you need to know before you date a single mom. Number 1, you're not her priority. She's got a kid, the kid's the priority, kids require a lot of attention just to keep the little beasts alive and unharmed. Just the tip number 2, if she's a crappy mom, she's not a keeper. If she can't even care about her kid, she's not going to be able to care about you. Just the tip number 3, it's a package deal. Even if she's an amazing woman, no matter what, if she's coming out of a split, or if she's a single mom, she's got baggage. We've all got baggage.
Ladies,
there's
your water, there's your seed.
Just the tip number 4.
You are set for the day.
I know if you've ever dated a single mom, you've heard that. Just the tip number 5, baby daddy is also part of the package deal. Unless baby daddy died, he's still in the picture, even if he isn't.
Even if he's dead too.
This truly lays it out. Dating a single mum means signing up for second place. Her kid always comes first. You're not the priority, just a package deal with extra baggage, including the ever-present baby daddy drama. Men get stuck with emotional and financial weight they didn't sign up for, while society expects them to just deal with it. It's a raw, unfair reality.
Why is dating a single mother so hard?
Because they're ungrateful. I remember the last single mom girlfriend that I had. Her name was Jaleesa. Her daughter's name was Jade. She was about 7 years old. I noticed that their big struggle is the morning. She's supposed to get up, brush her teeth, wash her face, get dressed, make her cereal. But like a typical 7-year-old, she wants to get up and walk around the house with the cover over her and shit, just bullshitting around. Her and her mom would get into, what's the point of me being here if I can't solve problems? Jaden was obsessed with trolls. Take my black ass to Walmart, I get markers, block letters. After I ordered troll stickers specific, I said, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you a big ass poster board that says Jaden's morning check. Every day you get up and do these things without your mama having to tell you this shit, you're gonna get a sticker. Every 14 stickers you accumulate, I gotta buy you something. Mom wasn't even anywhere near impressed. She was just looking like, that happens on Thursday, right? I'm a waiter. I work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I come over on Monday. Both of these little helpers are giving me attitude because I wasn't there during the weekend to put the shit together.
This story brutally exposes the thankless trap many men fall into when dating single mums. He steps up, tries to bring structure, helps raise a kid that's not his, and what does he get? Attitude and zero appreciation. It's a lose-lose situation. You're expected to act like a father, but treated like an outsider. No respect, no gratitude, just emotional labor dumped on you for nothing in return.
Second thought. Now you're saying, oh, mom.
I tell guys all the time, don't take single mothers seriously. Like, it's not in your best interest as a man. And when you look at it from a pragmatic standpoint, right, when you come in, you're responsible for taking care of that child, you're responsible for raising that child, protecting that child, provisioning for that child, etc. You have all the responsibility without any authority. I can't even slap that kid if he fucks up. It's not my kid. It's not my kid. So what does it look, what is a responsibility without authority? It's slavery. I'm responsible for this kid, but I can't even exert what I want on that child. Now I get what you're saying. No, it's not like that. But most women, if the child isn't yours and you come into the relationship and you smack that kid for being an idiot, she's gonna say, don't hit my kid. I can't discipline the kid the way that I want. That's the problem. Because I'm responsible for the kid, but I can't even raise him the way that I want.
The trap exposed. Dating a single mum often means signing up to be a full-time provider and protector for a kid that isn't yours. Yet you're treated like an outsider when it comes to discipline or decision-making. That's not fatherhood, that's servitude. You're expected to give everything, but you're not allowed to lead. No authority, no respect, just used and sidelined. Thanks for watching Manhood. If you want access to exclusive episodes and want to support the channel, hit that join button and become a member. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video if it hit home. Drop your stories and thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. See you tomorrow.
If you're a man or a woman on the internet and you are trying to understand why is all of this content out there about alphas being so alpha and women love alphas and like all the dudes out there are like women will choose the in-shape guy all day every day. This is how it is. Hey, why are y'all lying about this? What's the actual cause? Why is it that men believe that the ripped dude is more attractive than the unripped dude. And women believe that the less ripped dude is more attractive than the more ripped dude. Like, there's a fundamental disconnect.
Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Today, we're using a PhD to prove, yet again, that everything we've been saying about female nature is facts. And in the process, we're going to make all the coke merchants and naive romantics look real stupid. Let's go.
It turns out that women don't actually like ripped dudes, and I'm going to explain to you why. My name is Dr. K, and I'm a Harvard-trained psychiatrist.
So, shout out to Dr. K. Respect for bringing real conversations to the table. But what we're about to show you proves exactly what the red pill has been shouting for years. Watch how Dr. K breaks down why women prefer the before picture of a man, the soft, unimposing version, instead of the shredded after version. Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we men.
So I stumbled into this Twitter thread, which shows a before and after picture of someone who went through a 12-week fitness transformation. And what's more interesting than that is that there's a guy named William Costello who posted this poll, and he basically asks people, do you think he looks better before or after? And are you male or female? And this is what's really fascinating, is if you look at the way that the poll is broken down, basically men think that this guy looks better than this guy, but women actually prefer this dude to this dude. This discrepancy between men and women's appearances is interesting enough, but I thought what was really fascinating is the male response to the poll. So why are women lying about this? What's the actual cause? So as we saw men respond to this poll, right, with disbelief, like, oh my god, the women must be lying. Like, all the dudes think that the ripped guy is more attractive, but the women actually prefer the less ripped guy. This must be a lie. And then we start to get armchair psychology as well. Oh, the irony and the psychology. Women will choose the in-shape guy all day, every day. They likely won't even notice the dad bod. The psychological aspect is initial judgment versus emotional judgment. So this person sort of starts to say, like, okay, like, women are incorrect. Like, this wouldn't actually happen. Women aren't choosing the ripped guy. And then this is where, like, someone else says, really? The guy on the left looks feminine. Carrying extra fat to that extent is a feminine characteristic. Guess I'm going to stay ugly, okay? So I'm assuming that this is another ripped dude. So this is, like, really common. I see this on the internet a lot, where, like, men believe that women are attracted to something, and women are, when asked, when polled, they will say, okay, we're actually attracted to something else. So let's try to understand from a psychological perspective why this is. Why is it that male perception of male attractiveness appears to be so different from female perception of male attractiveness?
Boom, that's the rabbit hole, guys. That's the exact question that launches you into the red pill. As Morpheus said,
if you take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, before we dive deeper, remember this. The guys commenting on these before and after pics, they're not just making it up. They're speaking from experience. Let's continue.
So let's start with some basic evolutionary biology, okay? So we're going to take a look at how mate selection actually happens in different species. And this is where the concept of the alpha male comes from. So if we look at, like, lions, for example, what happens is males will compete with each other. They will develop an internal hierarchy within men. There's no female selection involved here. 2 or 3 male lions will fight it out, and based on intra-male competition, one male will rise to the top. Once one male rises to the top, basically the males have decided amongst themselves who gets to mate with the female lions, and then the female lions will sort of accede to that basically internal male competition. So this is a situation where, like, if these 2 dudes fought it out, and this guy won, maybe he is now the alpha male, has access to the pride of lionesses, and therefore he gets to mate. Now this is really common in many species and many mammalian species, things like that. But the important thing to understand here is that this is intra-male competition. Basically the dudes fight it out, one male rises to the top, and then the women will select basically what the males have already selected. And I think this is oftentimes the way that men see things, right? So we view things as intra-male competition. If I like a girl, I have to beat another guy in order to get the girl to like me. That's the way that we think. Unfortunately, human beings, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, human beings are a little bit different. So human beings tend to be a lot more complex. So what we sort of know about human mating is that we're not simple lions and lionesses, right? We tend to be, generally speaking, the best data supports serial monogamists, where human beings, if you look at the history of humanity, most human beings will sort of date or form relationships with one person at a time, a significant amount of time with one person. Sometimes we'll get divorced, sometimes we'll move on, but we just sort of don't fall into this intra-male competition. And to put this kind of bluntly, like if I go to school and I pick fights with a lot of other dudes and beat them all up, it's not like women are flocking to me and everyone wants to date me, right? I would actually be perceived as like someone who's a little bit unstable, a little bit violent.
Exactly. That's how men used to operate. Survival of the fittest. Lions fighting for the pride. Fast forward to now, you're not battling other dudes with clubs. You're battling TikTok attention spans and OnlyFans validation loops. The tweet was right. They likely won't even notice the dad bod. Facts. In modern society, most men are invisible. So when we see a dude who's winning with women, we don't ask why. We try to replicate it. That's not insecurity. That's logic. But here's the part that really exposes the game.
And that's kind of what we see from women, right? So let's take a look at the female perspective. No, he does look better in the before. Women are correct on this one, I fear. Guys obsess over these supremely tight-toned muscles, and they shouldn't. So this tweet is also kind of leaning into this concept of like there's intra-male competition, which is a little bit separate from what women prefer. I wouldn't trust a guy who cares that much about their body. We're not lying. He's more appealing to the women in the left-hand photo. He's giving off, I could be your loving, protective boyfriend you snuggle and have fun with, vibes on the left side. He's giving off, I'm self-absorbed and possibly gay vibes on the right. Sorry, our brains work differently than men's, and we value different things than you do. The guy on the left could survive a famine, an infection, or a long hunting trip, or war raid without food. The cut guy on the right is very vulnerable to resource shortages. Women evolved to understand which male body type survives better. Y'all may be wondering which of these perspectives is true, right? So are women so tuned into resource shortages and fat stores and things like that? We'll actually get into it, right? So here's another case of, okay, hear me out. I'm a female and he definitely looks better on the pic before. The pic before exudes warmth, protection, and emotional openness. The pic after gives coldness, selfishness, and emotional unavailability. You are in massive denial if you think women are lying here. So this is the situation. We have a post that very clearly shows a poll that men believe that the more ripped dude is attractive, and women actually say, no, the less ripped dude is attractive. So let's understand a little bit about the female perspective. So if we look at all of the evidence on female mating, right, which I haven't looked at all of this, but if we look at things like mate selection, there are a couple of strong meta-analyses and things like that that basically show that women are looking for three things in a man. The first thing that they're looking for is safety. The second thing that they're looking for is kindness, and the third thing that they're looking for is some amount of financial stability or financial security. So I'm going to ask y'all a question. Which of these two dudes do you think you're more safe with, right? Which one do you think, just by an image, and this is one of the problems on Twitter, which is all we're posting is an image, right? So we don't know a lot of complex things about these person's histories or how they interact or whether they're kind or not. We're basically judging the book by its cover. All we have is an image. So which one of these two dudes do you think is more likely to be critical of your food choices? Which one of these two dudes do you think is more likely to be judgmental about you? Which one of these two dudes do you think is more likely to be physically abusive? Right, so I know that you can sort of, people who are listening to this are going to respond very differently to what I just said. And that's okay, but I just kind of want to point out that when women are looking at this, which one do you think actually implies more safety? Which one do you think implies more kindness? Do you expect this person to be more kind, or do you expect this person to be more kind? You know, is this person a little bit more hardcore? Is this person a little bit less hardcore? Is this person maybe a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more chill, a little bit more accepting of your beliefs? Which one of these two people do you think is more rigid? And then the last thing, this is my favorite, financial security or some amount of material security.
Dr. K dances around it, but the word he's looking for is control. Which version of this man is easier to manipulate, contain, and rely on to be a workhorse? Spoiler, it's not the ripped, high discipline, focused on his purpose version. It's the soft one, the one who says, yes dear, let's go deeper. Women don't want to compete with their man. If he's too good, now she also has to hit the gym, look good, level up. And guess what? Most modern women don't want that pressure.
Now, if you don't like the guy, or you don't care to develop a relationship with him, then have sex with him. It won't matter. But if you really like him and hope to create a committed relationship with this man, then do not have sex with him.
Translation, if he's valuable, leverage the box. If he's not, throw it at him. No loss. Alpha, beta bucks. And yes, the data backs this up.
So as we start to see, if we sort of lean into the data, what we discover is that women are picking particular things, right? They're trying to select for kindness, they're trying to select for safety, they're trying to select for some amount of financial security, and meanwhile men seem to be hyper obsessed with intramale competition. So a lot of y'all may say, but oh, Dr. K, you're just like kind of making this stuff up, or like you're making these vague generalizations and this isn't really fair. But it turns out that there's actually hard science that examines this. So we're going to take a look at this paper called The Association of Relationship Status and Sex Life Satisfaction with Body Dissatisfaction and Drive for Muscularity in Male Weightlifters. This is basically a paper that's looking at the drive for muscularity, or DFM, right? So how manly, how cut does a dude want to be? And the more cut that a dude wants to be, does that impact their relationship status and sex life satisfaction? So this study investigated the relation of relationship status, relationship duration, and satisfaction with sex life in weightlifting men via online survey. I.e., this is a study that's looking at ripped dudes on Twitter. We found that single weightlifting men and those dissatisfied with their sex life were more dissatisfied with their muscularity and showed a stronger drive for muscularity than those in a relationship and satisfied men. Longer relationship duration was associated with less dissatisfaction with muscularity and less DFM. So what does this mean? Okay, so this is a cross-sectional study, but basically found that the higher the drive for muscularity is, the lower the relationship duration is. It's wild, but it turns out these women who have these knee-jerk reactions of preferring the before pic versus the after pic are actually in line with research on drive for muscularity and long-term relationship satisfaction. Turns out that the more cut you are, the less satisfied you are with your relationship, and the shorter duration your relationships are.
This is not just about muscles. Why? Because that dude isn't worshiping her. He's chasing his mission. That's why women call these men emotionally unavailable. Translation, he won't orbit me like a puppy dog, and that's a problem.
So let me explain what I mean. If you both like each other, love each other equally in a relationship, then obviously that relationship can work out really well, and he's likely to treat you really well. But also, if he maybe likes you or loves you a little bit more than you love him, that can also still work out well. And he will likely give you that sort of princess treatment. But if you like him, love him more than he loves you, I've never really seen that work out successfully in a relationship, honestly. And you're not going to be getting that princess treatment, that's for sure.
Right there. That's the entire female dating philosophy in 2025. Modern women want to be the star of your life, not the supporting character. And when they're not the center of your universe, suddenly you're toxic, or narcissistic, or emotionally abusive. Nah, you just have boundaries.
Maybe marriage isn't dead. Maybe romance is dead.
Yes, we need an overhaul on romance, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
See, for modern women, reality isn't the issue. It's lack of romance. They want the fairy tale without the sacrifice. This is coming from fat women. Let's go further.
So that's just one cross-sectional study. So let's take a look at something else. In Fitness and Health, a prospective study of changes in marital status in fitness in men and women. So this is a study that's looking at like changes in fitness and marital status. So let's see what they find. So compared with corresponding control groups, transitioning from being single to married was associated with a reduction in fitness in women. Kind of makes sense, right? After you get married, you kind of let yourself go a little bit. Divorce was associated with an increase in fitness in men, and remarriage was associated with a reduction in fitness in men. The authors conclude that the transitions to being married from single to married or divorced to remarried are associated with a modest reduction, while divorce is associated with a modest increase in fitness levels in men. Okay, so this is another study that doesn't suggest, so that we have to be careful about what this study shows and doesn't show. But once again, what we tend to see is if you look at people who are happily married, they are more likely to be less fit. And then if you look at people who get divorced, they are more likely to increase their fitness. Now this doesn't, I want y'all to understand this very clearly, this is not like a smoking gun worth of evidence. I think this relationship satisfaction study is a lot more important because like this talks specifically about drive for muscularity and the effect of drive for muscularity on your relationships. Now, here's the funnest paper of them all. So we're sort of like thinking about this, right? So there's some evidence, kind of whatever, right? These are cross-sectional studies, whatever, that suggest that drive for muscularity or being super in shape may be negatively associated with relationships.
This is where Uncle Al Bundy drops a truth bomb.
Why?
Well, because I realized that everything I've been doing up to now, the bathing, the brushing, the changing of the socks, being nice to people, trying to succeed, it's all for nothing. All those things are designed to attract. Why should I be attracted? I'm married with children.
This is pure gold. Women want a man to be attractive, but not too attractive. Because if too many other women want you, now she has to compete. And modern women do not compete for men. That's why 80% of divorces are filed by women. Not because you're bad, but because they didn't feel like a princess anymore.
Now, here's the study that I think is really fascinating, okay? So this study is absolutely wild. The influence of body composition effects on male facial masculinity and attractiveness. So this study is really precise. So here's what they did. They took a group of real faces, and they showed them to women with a lower amount of fat, a regular amount of fat, or a higher amount of fat. And then what they did is to take the same faces, lowered the amount of muscle, kept a regular amount of muscle, or increased the amount of muscle. So this study is very different from the other two, because this study is the most experimental, where they literally show women a person's face, and then they lower the fat or increase the fat, or they lower the muscularity and they increase the muscularity. So this is the study that the most precisely tests. If you're a man and you become more muscular, how will it change a woman's perception of your attractiveness? If you're a man and you become more fat, how will it change a woman's perception of your attractiveness, right? So if we go back to some of these Twitter threads about women will choose an in-shape guy all day, every day, now we have some really interesting, experiment. Now we have an experiment that shows if I literally take the same dude, same physical face, right? So equally attractive. There's no influence about how much money they make or how kind they are. And I literally adjust the level of muscularity. What difference does that make for women? So this study is really important because when we make statements like this, women will choose the in-shape guy all day, every day. This study is the most precise measure of that, right? So if I literally take this person and I make him more muscular or less muscular, how will women respond? And this is where things get crazy. Women have been found to prefer more masculine-looking men when considering short-term relationships compared with long-term relationships. There's prior studies that show that, okay? So that's the first thing. We digitally transform face shapes, simulating the effects of raised and lowered levels of body fat or muscle, controlling for each other, and then age or height, right? So they basically transform the faces. We already talked about that. The face shape correlates of muscle mass profoundly enhanced perceived masculinity. Okay, so this is important. So as you become more muscular, there is a perception that you become more masculine. Makes sense, right? One dude is more manly, the ripped dude is more manly than the unripped dude. But masculinity does not necessarily correlate with mate selection. Here's the big discrepancy between men and women. In study 2, we asked 2 groups of women to optimize male face images. So they asked the women to resemble someone they would prefer, either for a short-term sexual relationship or long-term relationship. So what they basically did is they asked women, you can adjust the face however you want. Make the face more suited for what you prefer in a short-term relationship, and then make the face into what you prefer for a long-term relationship. And what we discover is that women preferred the appearance of male faces associated with a higher muscle mass for short-term compared with long-term relationships. So when you ask a woman, change the face to whatever you prefer for a short-term relationship, they make it more muscular. And when we ask about long-term relationships, they don't make that change. So that may sound kind of confusing, but now women are basically getting to pick, right? What is the level of muscularity that they prefer? So we found that women preferred faces associated with a higher muscle mass for short-term relationships rather than long-term relationships. Now the question is why? Previous studies have revealed that men with high testosterone levels and more fat-free mass, i.e. greater muscle mass, report having a larger number of sex partners, indicating that these men might devote more effort into mating relative to parenting, i.e. studies suggest that dudes who are super cut and have higher levels of testosterone are more likely to want to mate as opposed to parent. Further, other studies show that men with high testosterone levels are less likely to get married and more likely to get divorced. So as testosterone increases, the likelihood of marriage goes down and the likelihood of divorce goes up. Hence, male faces that reflect high levels of androgen-mediated traits may be less preferred by women in a long-term relationship because of the associated behavioral traits that are inconsistent with paternal investment. So now we have it, boys and girls, so this may seem really confusing.
Look, for the blue pill crowd, all this seems confusing, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Women don't love you for you. They love you for what you can do for them. And that thing changes over time. In their prime, they chase Chad, get flown out, party on yachts, chase vibes. But when reality hits, student debt, rent, stress, they pivot. Now, they want the provider, the rock, the cleanup man. That's when you, the good man, suddenly matters.
And then if we look at the woman's perspective, we see that actually their knee-jerk reaction is pretty aligned with the evidence that we just looked at. If we go back to the female perspectives, like their gut reactions to these pictures, we see that the pic before exudes warmth, protection, and emotional openness. These are indicators of long-term relationship quality, right? This is not about short-term sexual stuff around health or immunity or like which dude is more manly. This is which dude is going to serve as a better long-term provider. And what we see on Twitter, it's really fascinating. If we break it down based on psychiatry, based on science, based on psychology, we see that there's a fundamental mismatch and that women actually prefer men who are better geared towards long-term relationships. And the most confusing thing for men is that the more manly you get, right, there's kind of like this bell curve where if you get on the extreme end of physical fitness, that implies a high degree of testosterone, it implies a high degree of judgment, it implies a high degree of rigidity, and women won't actually prefer that.
Now here's where Dr. K fumbles the bag.
The last question that I've got for y'all is just a gut check, which is which one of these two dudes do you think is more likely to make a poll, and when the results of the poll aren't aligned with their perception of reality, is more likely to accuse you or a woman of lying, right? This is what we see on Twitter.
Bias, period. Earlier, he said,
and women are, when asked, when polled, they will say, okay, we're actually attracted to something else.
Women say they're attracted to X, but we've seen the data. Apps, matches, DMs, behavior. You don't listen to what women say. You watch what they do. And the men with the best insight on female behavior aren't therapists. It's the Chads, the Tyrones, the ones who lived it. In modern dating, the good guy's plan B. He's the emergency parachute. She's not giving him her best. She's giving him her leftovers. It doesn't matter how you slice it. The data, the experience, and even a Harvard-educated psychiatrist end up proving the same thing. Women don't love men unconditionally. They love what a man can do for them. And when those needs change, so does the love. But guess what, brothers? That's not your problem. You're not here to be the cleanup crew. You're here to build your life, build your value, and walk away from anything that doesn't add to it. If she's not an asset, she's out. That's baby working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been